I am Amy Richardson of Richardson Professional Solutions, where we provide back office services for other small businesses, nonprofits, and family estates across the country. And today I am bringing value to you as a community member by introducing you to another community member, Miss Laurie McRae. Miss Laurie, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here in the CSRA.
Well, I have been in Augusta since 1980 and working in interior design all of that time. And I have an interior design degree, and I am certified by NCIDQ, which is an international board that certifies interior designers, and I sit on the licensing board for architects and interior designers.
Sounds very fancy. So thinking about what you do and who you serve, looking at that through the lens of a business owner, tell us the importance of interior design when you're thinking about space, whether that's office space, your lobby, a doctor's office, an airport.
Right. I did do the Augusta airport back in 2010, which was a long process, just because of what it took to get that through. And after 9/11, things have obviously changed. But an interior designer that works at the commercial level, the best thing in the world is for them to have those credentials that make them able to work in that arena. And that can be a degree, and it can be the certification, which can be done a different route than the degree. And it also, experience comes in. But there's things that come in when an interior designer, because so many people tend to think of that as just pretty draperies or nice colors. But if you are able to understand fire codes and ADA and those things that impact business owners, you just bring more value to that job.
Right. So shifting gears a little bit, I know one of your passions, you mentioned ADA, is helping people fit their space to get them through the rest of their life. So I know that we've talked about making sure that walkways are wide enough when you build a home that they'll eventually be able to fit a wheelchair and things of that nature. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, because you don't realize, when you're younger that those things are going to happen to you. You see them happen to your parents or your grandparents, but you don't think you'll ever be there. But if you're trying to build your forever home in your 30s, you have to think about the fact that you may someday be infirmed, and that could happen because you break a leg and you're on a walker. It could happen, because of, advanced age. So it just makes more sense when you're doing something that you don't want to have to majorly renovate to put those things into place. And that would just be the passageways being wide enough. No threshold on showers is very important. I did a house in Jones Creek one time, and they would not let me do the no threshold. They said, we don't need that, and he broke his leg 2 weeks later. So, you just don't ever know when those things are going to hit.
So what pieces of that translate into the commercial world?
Well, it all translates into commercial because it's so critical in commercial, just because the American Disabilities Act, where all of that has to be adhered, and it's, inspected and verified. And so in knowing that, an interior designer approaches a project from a different perspective than an architect, but we work well together, where an architect is doing the business, the building envelope and looking at it from the outside in and then putting the places in, whereas an interior designer is coming at it from the interior, obviously with the title. So we think about the more human elements approaching the project with the end in sight.
So thinking about someone who may have a big project coming up with maybe a limited budget, where would you say is most important to put their funds? Like, where are they going to get the most bang for their buck? Check all the boxes that they need, keep everything in code, whatever that may look like from your side.
Well, I would say that your finishes are going to be most important. You might want to cut and do like a laminate countertop, but that laminate countertop is going to disintegrate after 10 years, whereas granite's there forever. In your surfaces, your floor surfaces, you need to think about that. Paint is easy. If you really love gray, like everybody did, a little while ago, then I was telling people as we went through, paint your walls gray. Don't make your permanent finishes gray, because then it's going to become outdated and you're going to be tired of it.
Right. So thinking about that in a commercial space, what's trending right now? What are you seeing a lot of? What's something new that's come out that you're implementing?
Well, everything is shifting right now out of the grays and the dead whites. And so what they're tending to do at the moment in commercial is still things are pretty contemporary and very sleek. And that's a classic. I mean, a classic can be an 1850 classic and it can be a 1950 classic. So, contemporary is not necessarily a fad. It just happens to be a classic in its own, and we're deep into that right now. But I would say that probably you're seeing color coming back in. If you look at commercial spaces that are being done, if you look in magazines or doctor's office, et cetera, there's still a lot of neutrals as their finishes, which I would advise. But then you're seeing, the bright splashes of color in their upholstery or in their art. Contemporary art is still, very big.
All right. So anything else that you would say business owners need to know about engaging with an interior designer, other than knowing when is a good time to step back and let you do your work, right?
Yeah, that's always good.
Anything else they need to know?
Professionals do, what they're good at. Well, I just think that, as I say, and a lot of architects have interior designers on staff, but which I think that's a trend that came about, after the crash, and I think that's wonderfully smart because we both come at the projects from a different angle, but we have a lot of overlapping skills. So I think it's important to collaborate, and I think it's important to have someone that has a vision for you and what your staff is comfortable with. An interior designer is going to look at your office or your home. What are your functions? What are your adjacencies? Like who needs to be next to whom in order for that workflow to work well? So those are things that an interior designer is specifically looking at while the architect is looking at the business envelope and all the systems.
That makes sense. All right. So as a parting thought, what sets you apart? I know you are highly credentialed, highly educated, go dogs, right? But what would you say sets you apart from the numerous other interior designers in our area?
I think it's probably the level of those credentials does set me apart, although there's a lot of people that have, certifications in town. But I also think that because I go over into the estate liquidation realm and I'm constantly dealing with things that are antique or things that have a history. And so I think I bring that into a project where when I do a project, I want to know what's important to them and what they need to bring in to show their own personality, even in an office space or in a lobby space. So I think that probably is the thing that would set me apart, that it's much more layered.
Got it. All right. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being with me today. And how can folks get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me. They can go to my website and contact me that way, or they can, call me at my office, and that is at 1325 Troop Street, and that number is 706-863-5440.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
All right.